What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. Happy to be talking golf with you once again on a Tuesday night. Unless you are in the southern part of the U.S., it's probably cold where you are. So nice evening if you're watching us live to bundle up and take some golf content in and start building lineups for what should be an interesting week. Pretty strong field this week for the American Express. So we will talk about that here for you this evening. I am Justin Van Zuiden, STL Cardinals 84 in the daily fantasy streets. I've got my usual co-host, Derek Notorious Farnsworth, alongside. And Noto, it was kind of a wild ride last week, and I know you had some good hits with some top 10 bets, but the tournament probably could have ended a little bit differently to keep a lot of people happy. But how you doing?
Yeah, 4-foot putt. Do you make it? I think I at least touched the hole. I mean, it didn't even come close. But yeah, doing good. It was a good week overall. Had a good week in DFS, 6 of 6 through the cut. Thanks to Joel Damon, man of the people. He had like a 4-footer on 18 as well on Friday, and I think he let in like 18 more golfers, or I can't remember.
And a lot of fairly popular ones too. That was a big swing.
That was a big swing. I saw on Twitter somebody hit like a 24-person made cut parlay last week. That's pretty cool. Large part thanks to that miss from Damon. But yeah, overall pretty good week for me. How about you?
Yeah, my rosters were not as great with all the chalk kind of hitting and a pretty high 6 to 6 percentage. Not the greatest week for me. So, and I was in the money in the snake draft for a while, ended up finishing 5th out of 6 in that. And Noto took that down. So nowhere to go from here, but downward for Noto taking down the snake draft last week. So yeah, it was not my finest week. A few too many miscuts for how many 6 to 6 lineups there were last week. And I had some Benny on, but that didn't, my lineups were dead anyway, but that maybe cost me another $100 with Grayson Murray, who I believe is the only professional athlete to ever block me on Twitter. So I can't even congratulate him on his win. Good for him, I suppose. But I mean, if the stories that he was, in a dark place the last couple of years, and so it is a feel good story, I'm sure, for him. And he's always been a little bit polarizing, but I'm sure he'll feel pretty good after winning last week. But definitely, I mean, his odds were like, depending on where you look, 250, 350, 400 to 1 last week. So that was quite the surprise there, especially for the, taking down a 3-man playoff with a couple of veterans.
Yeah, quite the surprise, and he was rather lucky to be where he was. Got a free drop on 18 in regulation, and it was a really good drop too. And then in the playoff, he pulled his drive left, hit a palm tree. Somehow it got through, and then he sinks a 40-foot putt. So, yeah, I didn't congratulate him either. Not that I'm blocked by him, but still not too happy. But yeah, I guess 2024, the year of sobriety. We had Chris Kirk take down the first tournament and Grayson this week. So be on the lookout for any golfers that have given up drinking and start betting them.
Yeah, that's the ticket apparently for this year. I can't even remember what I said to get blocked by him. I can't even find it anymore. But it was probably 6 or 7 years ago. Anyway, good for Grayson getting the W. I'm not going to hold any grudges on the air. So he picks up the win, and again, the cut line ended up sticking at -2. So those of you who needed all those guys to get through, if that helped you get your 6 of 6 and a profitable week, it was pretty unexpected. I think the odds were about 5% for it to hold at -2 when there was like a group of 10 or 12 guys there, and only a couple needed birdies to move it up. And of course, the last hole on each side was a par 5. So it was a surprise, but part of what makes the DFS golf sweat so much fun is that Friday afternoon cut sweat. So it did provide some excitement before we got to the weekend. And then, as we mentioned, Grayson Murray taking down Keegan Bradley and Benny On in the playoff with a little bit of good fortune along the way. But that's golf for you. So anything else to take away from the Sony last week?
JT Poston continues to dominate on Sunday. Shot a 65 at the Century on Sunday, 61 last week at the Sony. So he's a guy I like this week. We'll talk about him in a bit. Only the other thing I had written down is, did you see the Carl Yuan?
I did. Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, to this day, they still haven't found the ball.
Still haven't found the ball. They said, with the visual certainty, it went in the grandstand, even though they showed the replay and it clearly went over the grandstand. Yeah, it's just such an unnatural part of golf, having these big things there, getting these free drops. It's just different. Any other sport, you don't get that kind of stuff. That's so much different from casual play to professional play. So I'm not necessarily his fault, but didn't love the ruling there.
And he only kept his full card because of the change in the standings with John Rahm going to live. So just a little bit of a good fortune all around, I guess. For
we have the ex-alcoholic narrative. Endicott is giving up drinking, according to the apologists in chat. So
all right, so he's the next one to check off the list. Other guys who kind of barely missed last week, Adam Hanwin was fairly popular. He had a tough Friday, missed the cut by just one stroke. Again, not a whole lot of chalk that didn't make it. Matthew Fitzpatrick was probably the biggest name of the guys who missed the cut. He finished 2 strokes back. Will Zalatoris continues to struggle with the putter. I think he lost like 4 strokes through his front 9 on Thursday, so he's still trying to shake off the rust. He's back in the field this week. Daniel Berger's back as well, so we can talk about those guys. But outside of that, most of the big names last week did make the cut. You mentioned the person hitting a 24 out of 24 made cut parlay. See, that's like a dream. If you would have just used those 24 golfers as your player pool in DFS, you'd have had 100% 6-6 lineups, and then those are the weeks where you can really make things happen. But it's tough to align all that on the same week. Another good finish for Jaeger, top 20 for him. Kirk as well, T18, backing up his victory. Denny McCarthy inside the top 25. Eric Cole, Taylor Pendrith, another couple guys right there around the top 10. So it was a pretty solid week for most of the big names in last week's field. All right, anything else, or you want to move on?
The Panda made the cut. He was leading at one point.
He was ready to pounce there on Thursday. He was almost first round leader.
But he ended up finishing 79th, but still made cut on the PGA Tour. We're trending.
Yeah, that's a paycheck, and so we'll see how his season continues. And I think he got through like a 7-for-2 playoff in the Monday qualifier to get his spot, if I remember correctly. I was watching Thursday evening when he was close to the lead, and they were talking about that. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on. I joke all the time that this is Noto's favorite tournament, so we got to make sure we give plenty of time to talk about it. But the American Express this week, the first of a few multi-course tournaments that we'll see over the course of the late winter months. Of course, limited daylight hours still this time of year, and we've got amateurs in the field this week. So they have to utilize 3 courses this week in order to get everybody's rounds completed. Rounds are still like 6 hours in this tournament. And the first 3 days, you rotate among the 3 courses, and the cut does not happen until after the 3rd round tournament, where there tends to be plenty of good scoring. We've seen winning scores. I believe I look back 16 years, at least 20 under par every time. So you're going to see plenty of birdies this week. With amateurs in the field the first 3 days, they don't make the pins too difficult. So tends to be a score fest and a little bit of a crapshoot, if you want to sum it up in one word there. Noto, what do you think of the venues we have this week?
Yeah, so they share a lot of similar characteristics. They're all par 72s. They all measured less than 7,200 yards. They all feature Bermuda grass with POA overseed. And you'll hear a lot of people say the stadium course is much more difficult than the other 2, but that's just not really the case. I mean, last year the PGA Tour had 49 courses in the rotation, and these were 46th, 47th, and 48th in terms of difficulty. So these are going to be like 3 of the 5 easiest courses on the PGA Tour each year. So I'm not too worried about the stadium course being that much more difficult. Maybe if you're playing showdown,
I think that narrative comes in like if it's windy or something, sometimes it tends to play a little bit more difficult, or they might set it up a little bit more difficult on Sunday when everybody's playing there and when the amateurs aren't playing anymore. But yeah, for those first 3 rounds, it's a pretty negligible difference most of the time.
Yeah, with everyone thinking stadium's more difficult, I kind of like the idea of playing some of those guys in showdown from an ownership angle. But yeah, it should be a lot of birdies made. All these courses are short, so you're going to get a lot of going for the green in 2 on the par 5s, a lot of wedges on the par 4s. And it's going to come down to a putting contest. It always does when you have a ton of birdies. So guys that can light it up on the greens certainly makes some sense this week.
All right. Yeah, I don't mind targeting putting, birdie or better percentage. Of course, the good ball strikers are always in play. You definitely don't need distance off the tee, though, even though these are par 72s. They're all pretty short by today's standards. So don't feel like you need to hone in on the big hitters just because it's a par 72. Certainly not long by any stretch of the imagination in terms of the layouts. Even the stadium course, if I look at their par 5s, the 2 on the front 9 are 535 and 559 from the tips, and then the back 9, 591 and 600. So, and again, that's if they're playing all the way back. So should be plenty of opportunities for birdies and eagles this week. And if we start breaking down the golfers, as usual, around 4 golfers above 10K on DraftKings. And again, it's a pretty solid field this week. So you're going to see some depth here that maybe we haven't seen for a while. Certainly not a lot during the fall swing. We've got the top 4, though: Scheffler, Schauffele, Cantlay, and Sungjae Im this week. Some guys that have some history playing here. Certainly 4 of the better golfers on tour these days. Do you think you can fit in one of these top 4? I guess your thoughts on these guys and whether you need to prioritize one. And does the fact that the cut doesn't come until after the 3rd round play into your thought process at all?
Problem with playing that angle is I don't know if you just decide to take riskier guys, higher variance guys. Maybe you can do that, but at the same time, you're still going to need 6 to 6 if you want to win tournaments. If your guy misses the cut, misses out on a round, your lineup's probably going to be dead in those large field tournaments. In terms of the 10Ks, I like it a lot better than I did last week. I kind of thought it was a good spot to fade before in the 10Ks last week. It's hard to do this week. I mean, Scheffler playing great, won the Hero, 5th at the Century. Xander always plays well. He's from California, 3rd here last year. Cantlay, kind of the same thing. Always plays well in California. No weakness in his game. He's the best in the field on easy courses. He's the best in the field short game in California over the last few years. And then you have Sungjae, who just, 12th, 10th, 12th, 11th, and 18th here the last 5 years. So I don't have a strong take on any of them. I like them all. I'm not sure what I'm going to do in my main lineup because I kind of like the balance build a little bit. But, yeah, do you have any stronger takes than I do? I think they're all great plays.
Yeah, they're all fine for sure. I have found myself leaning towards maybe Sungjae the most. I mean, again, we kind of it got lost in the fact that there was just so much scoring at that tournament, but and he didn't make enough eagles or have enough birdie streaks to be near the top of the DraftKings scoring. But let's not forget he set a record for birdies in an event at the Century a few weeks back. And if you look the last 5 years at this tournament, Sungjae Im has finished inside the top 20 every time. He's gained over 40 strokes on the field. So super consistent, comes at a little bit of a discount as well from the others. I mean, that $800 down from Schauffele or $700 down from Cantlay could make a difference between getting the final guy that you want in your roster or not. So given that there's not a whole lot separating them, I worry about Scheffler being able to make enough putts. And I also worry about the pace of the rounds screwing up Scheffler with how bad he's been putting. So if I had to be low on one, it's probably Scheffler, though that's obviously concerning. I think Cantlay is very safe, but he's also going to be pretty popular. So I'll probably end up with the most exposure to Xander and Sungjae if I had to peg that right now.
Yeah, don't mind that one bit. Also don't mind just starting with the best friends and Cantlay and Xander, and then kind of building from there. But Yeah, are you starting lineups with one person up here for sure?
Probably, but I think most of that's because I don't love the 9K range. I think Tom Kim is fine. JT, I think, is overpriced for the year that he had. I almost never play Jason Day at 9,600. Not big on Burns on a course where you don't need to drive the ball. Finau, you don't know what you're going to get from him these days. So I like the lower part of the 9Ks. I think is great. But the upper part of the 9Ks I don't love. And yeah, I'll probably start with one of Schauffele, Cantlay, and him in most of my lineups.
All right. Should we move on to the nines?
Yeah, so I just kind of mentioned from 93 to 99, I don't really love anybody. Is there a must-have in here for you?
Not a must-have. I did bet Justin Thomas outright. I think it's going to be a big year for him. He was
It's not
obviously
going to be worse. If it's worse,
yeah,
that's a problem.
obviously way motivated towards the end of last year. He's eating gluten again. He's back on the pizza train. So obviously that diet that he didn't work. Start heading into last season. But look at the recent form: 12th, 5th, 4th, 3rd over his last four starts. He's played here 2 times. I think the last one was in 2016. Finished tied 7th. So he's probably my favorite option. Doesn't look like he's going to get a lot of ownership. Also like Jason Day a little bit in tournaments. Another guy, 5% ownership right now, coming off of some good finishes in the fall. Always plays well in California, has a really good track record on a lot of the courses out here. So I like those two. Probably not going to prioritize Tom Kim or Minwoo, but I think I have a little more interest than you, Joe, up there.
Yeah, I mean, where I'm going to get my exposure is at the bottom of this range. You hinted at Poston a little bit ago. He just continues to thrive. T5 and 6th place his first 2 starts of this year. If you go back to the fall swing, he had a few top 10s in there as well. Still not priced at a premium. If you look at his history here, he's got 4 made cuts in 5 starts, T6 here last year. And just the long-term, the longer-term statistical trends with Poston are really good as well. You look at especially the short game. He's first in strokes gained short game and first in putting over the last 36 rounds in this field. And you're going to need to make putts to contend in this tournament. So Poston, I like a good bit. I can certainly see people thinking that Kirk is a nice fit here as well. But I think Poston's my guy down here. And even though he's going to be popular, probably a guy that I'll just look to lock in a lot of lineups this week.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. And I actually built my, shell lineup before we came on the show with Poston as my most expensive golfer, and really like the look of it. Maybe you're giving up a little bit of win equity, but we've seen a lot of long shot winners at this event over the years. So typically the more birdies there are, the easier the courses are, the more variance there is. And plus you have the 3 courses and the Pro-Am. So I think if you want to start with somebody in the 9s, I don't hate that idea.
Yeah, and you can certainly take some chances this week simply because of the unpredictable nature for the reasons that Noto just mentioned. Ram, Ram has won here twice, so obviously he's a talented guy. But in between the Ram wins, your winners at this event were Adam Long, Andrew Landry, Siwoo Kim, and Hudson Swafford. And Swafford's won here twice. So, Bill Haas is a past winner here. It's Duffner as well in 2016. So you certainly don't have to be long off the tee if Haas and Duffner are winning here. And it's just a tends to be a bit unpredictable. So just take that for what it's worth as you're figuring to, I like some chalky guys this week, but I wouldn't put them all together in a GPP lineup. I'd probably set max ownership to a certain level for sure this week. So anything else above 9K for you?
No, I was just going to say, after we had such a high 6 of 6 last week, get ready for some carnage.
It's going to be 1% this week. All these guys are going to stink.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and move into the 8Ks. If you talk about liking the look of that balanced build, I'm sure you've got a couple of these mid to high 8K guys. We've got Wyndham Clark, the always consistent Eric Cole in here, Shane Lowry, who I think is intriguing for tournaments this week, Siwoo Kim at 8,600, and then Cam Davis at 8,400, coming off a decent bounce back week, faded a bit over the weekend. but he was your first round leader at the Sony Open last week, ended up finishing T30. So who do you like in here?
Yeah, how do we not just go back there at Cole? I know he's going to be popular. If you look at his numbers, first in this field in birdie or better rate over the last 4 months, over the last 8 months, second over the last 12 months. Again, I talked about this last week. He's finally seeing these courses for a second time, which I do like. He finished T36 here last year. Really good putter, really good around the greens. So he's my favorite play. He's just been so consistent, makes so many birdies. I actually have him projected as the 4th best play of the week. That doesn't include salary. So definitely be overweight on him. I like the Cam Davis call. He's been a little inconsistent in his first 2 starts. You mentioned the hot start last week at Sony, but kind of fell apart there. He's been pretty good here throughout his career, so I'll go back to him at lower ownership. Everyone's going to play Hadwin. I don't know what to do with Hadwin chalk. It doesn't feel good, but he always plays well in California, especially at this event. My favorite play outside of Cole is going to be Taylor Montgomery. I think he's probably going to get some steam, but he's one of the best putters in the field. And if you look at his recent stats, he's finally striking the ball well. He was really good towards this stretch last year and then just was terrible the rest of the year. But, yeah, I really like Montgomery at 8,100, especially if he's going to be a little lower owned than Hadwin.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where that'll fall as well. I mean, Hadwin missed the cut last week. Montgomery had another second straight top 15 finish for him, dating back to the fall swing. So, not the ownership expert here by any means, but interesting to see. If Hadwin would have come in like top 10 last week, certainly he'd be mega chalk. But I think this range is a little bit wide open because I think Putnam's going to gain some ownership as well. Just because he's a guy that tends to love playing here. This is the type of course where he can play well. He's coming off a T10 last week, and he's only 8K. So you look at the last few trips for Putnam here. He's made the cut 5 straight years, 3 top 25s in there. So, throw Putnam in that mix as well with Cam Davis and with Hadwin and with Montgomery. I think, maybe their ownership, either people are playing a couple guys from this range with that balanced build like you're talking about, or these guys kind of cannibalize each other a little bit in terms of ownership. So I like Putnam in here as well.
Yeah, he's my new Brian Harmon. The model loves him every week. He's playing well, so hopefully he can win a major for us, just like Harmon did. But what about Berger? He's back. I'm not playing him, but it'll be good to see him back. I don't think he's played for it's been 2 years or 18 months or something.
It's been a long time, and we've seen what Zalatoris has done coming back. Not that Berger has ever had the putting issues that Zalatoris had, but yeah, I mean, it hasn't burned me yet not playing Willie Z. So I just got to take a wait and see approach on these guys. I know it's cheap. I know it seems cheap, especially, Zalatoris at 7,900. Some people are just going to keep, getting burned by this train all the way down to 7K. There will be a spot to hop in, and you can argue that he played better on Friday, but I mean, some of his rounds and say like that first round, the putts were just so bad. You got to show me at least a T40 or something before I'm really ready to do it, to pull that trigger again.
Yeah, I was just pulling up his Masters odds because they got to be just cratering right now. If you think he's going to make a comeback, I mean, that's.
Are we talking Berger or Zalatoris?
Zalatoris.
How many strokes putting is he going to lose on Augusta greens? Are those going to equalize things out?
For whatever reason, he gains strokes. I want FanDuel has him at 44. That's not very good.
No, that's not good.
I was thinking this might be a good time. DraftKings 35. Oh, geez. Okay.
35 to 1?
Never mind.
Where can I just bet no?
Yeah. Take my $35 to win one.
Yeah, so I'm not I'm trying to see where he is this weekend now. Is that right? He's not 1. Is he 100 to 1 this week?
Who, Berger?
No, Zalatoris.
Is he in the field? Oh, I didn't even notice he was in
the field. He's a 7900.
Yeah, he's 100 to 1.
That's crazy. So he's 40 35 to 1 to win the Masters on DraftKings, and he's 110 to 1 to win this pitch and putt pro-am.
He doesn't like these birdie fests. They know. They know.
They know. Don't bet him to win the Masters. If you're going to bet him to win the Masters, you might as well throw $5 on him to win this week. So yeah, I was just kind of lumping Berger and Zalatoris together because I'm not playing either of them. As weird as it seems to see Jaeger at the same price as those guys, Jaeger's the better play at this point. I like Alex Noren at 7,800, who nobody ever wants to play, so I'll play him. What do you think about the high 7Ks here?
Yeah, pretty strong range. Jaeger rates out really well for me. He hasn't been great here, but he's been pretty consistent. Not sure how much upside he has. He's only finished in the top 6% of tournaments once or twice in his last 13 months. But he's very consistent. He's going to make a lot of cuts. I like Bo Hostler. He was playing really well towards the end of last season. And then moving down a little bit. That's actually all I like until we get to the lower sevens. So hopefully you have a couple more for me.
Yeah, this is kind of a dead range as well. I'm always kind of a fan of Davis Thompson, so I can see playing him. He made like 5 birdies and 7 holes on Friday to make the cut last week. Ended up shooting a couple under par rounds on the weekend as well. Still only got him a T57 because he got off to such a bad start. But I think you can play him at 7,600. Speaking of guys, we didn't mention this, but Kuchar with quite the implosion last week. Unusual for him on a course where he tends to play well. But he's not a guy that I would consider here. I just saw his name there at 7,500. I think Tom Hoagie's okay for GPPs. Van Rooyen, I think, is okay for GPPs. But yeah, Davis Thompson, maybe Aaron Rye are probably the safer plays in this range. It's not great though.
What about Pendrith? He's been playing pretty well.
Yeah, he has. Concerns me that he tends to rely on his driver a little bit, and he's missed the cut the last 2 years here. But if his ownership is low, I think he's interesting for tournaments as well.
Yeah, I've just seen, missed the cut on the number both the last 2 years, but top 15 in 4 of his last 5. So maybe a dart throw.
All right. What do you like as we get towards the bottom part of this range here?
All right, so at 7,400, I really like Ben Griffin. Talked him up a lot last week. Finished T30. I think he made a pretty strong move on Friday to make the cut as well. And similar to Eric Cole, it's his second year back on the tour, so he's seeing all these courses for the second time. Finished T32 here last year. I like Nicholas Lindheim. He was kind of my fall swing season specialist, and he just has played well. He's been pretty great on the Korn Ferry Tour and on the PGA Tour. Nobody's really realized who he is yet. We have him at 4% ownership, and he hasn't missed a cut in over a year. So even if you're doing that on the Korn Ferry Tour, that's pretty impressive. But he's been grinding out top 30s too on the PGA Tour. Don't mind going down to Ben Coles. We talked about him a little bit last week. He's another one of those guys that played great on the Korn Ferry Tour. Now he's getting some starts on the PGA Tour. This is kind of the best time to target those guys before we get into the super difficult courses where they just don't really have a chance. And I'll always play some Seabez. He's been pretty decent worldwide form. 3rd, 17th in his last 3 starts.
Yeah, I put Coles in my article this week as well. You go back to his last few starts on the Korn Ferry Tour last year. T9, T4, T5. Then a 42nd, then T6, T5. So 5 top 10s and 6 starts. Probably a little bit nervous his first full tournament with a PGA Tour card. He didn't make the cut last week, so pretty nondescript finish after that. But a made cut's a made cut. It's a paycheck. Calms the nerves a little bit, and I think he'll play better, particularly on the easy courses this week. So love him at the lower part of the 7K range. Of course, last week's winner, Grayson Murray, right there at 7K. If you want to go back to that, he can be as volatile as they come. So I don't think I will do that, and especially since we've got his ownership up to about 8% now. Maybe it gets closer to 10, but I am out on Grayson Murray this week. And then once we get into the 6s, it's pretty weak. We don't have a whole lot of ownership on any of these guys. We've got looks like Tyler Duncan and Harry Hall, and Noto's boy Toasty at about 4%. Toasty. Just not a whole lot of them. Yuan back in the field at 9%, I guess, is the one guy with some ownership in this range, but tough to find a guy that you feel super good about in here.
Yeah, I don't like the 6Ks at all. I don't know why. I like the bounce builds for single entry stuff. In terms of the model, doesn't mind Carson Young at 6,300. Doesn't mind Trace Crow, who I don't know a lot about. He's got a couple top 7 finishes recently on the Korn Ferry Tour. A couple other guys I didn't mention the 7s. I like Sam Ryder. He's got a pretty good track record here. Was playing well in the fall. And then Chesson Hadley was also finally showing some consistency. He's not a guy that we typically know that makes a lot of cuts. He's a boomer bust type, but yeah, he's making birdies and snapping those fingers, and that's it for me.
All right, I mean, I don't mind taking a sprinkle of a guy or two down here. We mentioned you can embrace some variance this week. I'll probably do that with the lower end of the 7K range. I think Robert McIntyre at 6,800 is okay. Seems like a guy who could play well in this type of event. He did make the cut last week at the Sony Open T52, so nothing special there. But at 6,800, he's a good enough golfer. Maybe not necessarily his elite course fit, but he's cheap. So I don't mind maybe sprinkling him into some GPP lineups. If you are building lineups or you start building lineups early, Seamus Power has withdrawn. He's the only guy that has withdrawn from the field since salaries were released. So just make sure you don't have him in any of your lineups. All right. Anything else before we try to do another snake draft here this week?
Nope, trying to keep my crown. So bring it on.
All right. If you're not interested in participating in the snake draft, feel free to hop off. We thank you as usual for watching. Appreciate it. As always, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You want notifications whenever we go live. We do this show each and every week on Tuesday evening, so you can catch us back here next week. Same time, same place. Might move the schedule around a little bit once football ends, but we'll be sure to let you know to any changes in the schedule. But if you are interested in doing a snake draft, we'll run it back, and you can stay on board and go through that with us. So we always do a $5 6-man snake draft on DraftKings, which is there's one that's 1 out of 6 right now. As I am going to it, I will enter to make it 2 out of 6. So again, our usual 6-man snake draft on DraftKings. Hopefully we can get that filled. Noto again trying to defend his crown from last week, and our new viewer last week that joined us and was pretty excited about getting in the snake draft. Right Hook was the other person that finished inside the money last week. So congrats to the two winners.
We need to give a shout out to somebody. Devin.
We need to give a shout out to somebody. That is on point. There you go.
Sorry, I had to log
somebody.
in.
Hello. Yeah, so Bailey M, I believe is who you're referencing, left us some comments on the video last week. Said, I don't want to assume because Bailey can go either way, but it's male or female. But so he or she said, love the content, but watching for 7 to 8 years now, back to when Justin used to have 2 other hosts, one that had the American flag in the background. This has been a great show for a long, long time. So Bailey, appreciate you checking out the video every week, and hopefully we can help you make some money along the way as well. So all right, and with that, we are full. Got Right Hook in there again. CA's trying to steal mine. I guess he didn't steal your money last week. Stole some of mine.
I almost missed it. DraftKings logged me out like it does 8 times a day, and then that was close. I was the last one in.
So, do you have trouble with DraftKings? I've never had trouble with DraftKings logging me out. I do have trouble with FanDuel asking me if I'm a human. That is a problem.
I don't ever get that on FanDuel, but at least 6 times a day, DraftKings logs me out, and then I have to do it sends me a number through my text, and it takes forever.
Well, I don't have that issue with DraftKings. FanDuel is the one that doesn't like me, so we can swap numbers at some point, I guess, if you'd rather be disappointed by FanDuel than DraftKings. But we're good to go. We got filled. Noto got in. Shy Sox Dude has the first pick. Again, our buddy Right Hook is back. He's picking second. Some old friends, Tug Rules and Gas Man, got in these quite a bit last year as well when we did them. So welcome back. A little family event, except for Mr. Shy Sox Dude, who was probably the one person in the lobby when I got in. Maybe not. Maybe watching live with us, but either way, welcome. We'll see how this week goes. So getting started here in about 15 seconds. Noto and I both picking in the middle of the first round. So hey, it's a top 4. We got 4 guys above 10K, so we'll both get one of them, unless you decide to go off the board.
Gonna take Grayson Murray, who's now in the Masters.
Welcome to golf in 2024. The live guys can't get in any of these tournaments, but Grayson Murray's in the Masters. All right. We got a nice comment as well from somebody on X/Twitter last week that said if you're not listening to Drive for Show DFS for Dope podcast, you're missing out on great free PGA DFS info. That was from Billy McGlane. So thank you for those nice words as well. That's a new year. Everybody's in the charitable spirit. All right. So Shoffley for Noto and Im for me, 3 and 4. That's just fine.
Speaking of, how's the Diet Coke going?
Got a water again. Water.
Very nice. All
water.
Right.
3 weeks
Almost
in a row.
Okay. Pretty good.
Yeah, we're still making it. Usually have one during the day, but we're still cutting back. What I don't like is that this negative whatever degree weather, having a puppy is not enjoyable to try to get him to go to the bathroom. And when we got 16 inches of snow over the weekend, trying to shovel a path for the puppy to go to the bathroom was not enjoyable as well. But and he's getting neutered tomorrow, so I'll have a Diet Coke in his honor tomorrow, since the puppy's got to go through fun times.
Somebody take Eric Cole already?
Ooh. Yes, they did. So I got I took Eric Cole went right in front of me to Tug Rules. So I took Thomas. I probably won't have a ton of him in DFS this week, so this will be my hedge on JT. All right, I'll put this over to the draft board now. We are rolling pretty good pace here to this one into round 3. Again, fairly solid field here up at the top, so these rosters aren't going to look too bad when all is said and done. You're up, by the way.
Area, because I don't love any of the guys up there. All right, I'll go Putnam.
We didn't talk about Lowry too much, but what do you make of Lowry in an event like this?
So did he play last week over in Dubai? Do you know?
I do not. Let's see.
Looks like he's finished 18th, and 3rd in his last 3, so that's pretty good. I don't know what tournaments they were, but
he doesn't usually play here, so I don't know. It's weird, but I don't think anybody's really going to play him, so I don't mind Lowry this week.
You see Tommy Fleetwood get it done? Jeez, Rory just.
I know. Yeah. Fleetwood anywhere but in the U.S. If Fleetwood's gonna get a W,
and he'll keep getting my money.
Yep. Then this will be the time. It'll be the time he's gonna get it done in the States, and per usual does not. All right, hopping at the end of round 4. Noto's got his boy Ben Griffin. He's the new Harmon too.
Yeah, Griffin.
Putnam and Griffin. You got both of them. And you're on brand here.
Todd's always up there. I wish he was playing this week.
Yeah, he's kind of surprises me that he's not actually. He's been a guy who tends to play every week these days.
Oh, my pick again. Yeah, this is flying.
Yeah, it is flying. Everybody's active and drafting here. Berger and Zalatoris still on the board.
All right, I'll go Pendrith, boomer bust. Yeah.
Billy Horschel came through for you last week on the auto draft at the end of the draft.
Perfect. Can't remember what I was going to say, but yeah, Horschel. I always forget to check the snake draft. I remember a couple times last year I'd logged in like after the tournament ended and it said I was winning, you saw a little dollar sign and I was like, oh, cool. And then it was just the $5 snake draft.
Sometimes I check before the show. Last week I was following along because my other lineups weren't doing anything. So it was just out of curiosity. And I was cashing and then I finished 5th. So it was a perfect microcosm of the week for me.
How many rounds would this take for Berger and Zalatoris to get picked?
I think one of them gets picked.
You think so?
I think one of them gets picked. I think Berger gets picked. I don't think anyone is auto drafting, so it's not like he's going to get auto picked. I don't know. I think it would be it'll be interesting. I'll say one of them gets picked. It won't be by me though. Maybe not. Maybe they both sit there on the board. Maybe one of them will be the last pick. Who knows?
We didn't talk about Justin Suh, California kid, makes a lot of birdies, good putter.
Yeah, I don't mind the good putters this week. You look at, let's see, 36 rounds. Last 36 rounds, he's 98th in ball striking. His recent stats are pretty ugly. 19th in putting, about the only thing keeping him floating. But hey, anything can happen here.
The events he played well were like the Zozo, where we didn't have stats, and
right, yeah.
JWH says he'll take Berger if he falls.
No, Berger's gone.
Oh, okay.
Right hook took Berger in the 6th round, so
I'm guessing that's JWH. The right hook is a WH.
Oh, that's right. I think I remember that from last week. I couldn't remember whether that was one of the... We got a lot of regulars in here this week, so I was getting the usernames mixed up. Justin Suh, huh? I will go... Actually, I'll take Hoagie here. I think he's okay in this type of format. We set a land speed record for how quickly this went. Shoffley, Day, Putnam, Griffin, Pendrith, Lindheim, and Suh for Noto, Im, Thomas, Lowry, Yeager, Noren, Thompson, and Hoagie. For me, and Matt Kuchar is the last player picked in the draft. So with that, we are through for this week. Done with another episode of Driver Show DFS for Dough. Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines next week before the AT&T Pebble Beach, which should be a really strong event this year. Looking forward to another couple of fun tournaments coming up. Of course, NBA season in full swing, basically halfway through the year. NFL playoffs rolling on through. Divisional round next week. This is good a good a time as any to check us out over at RotoGrinders.com. So as always, thanks for watching. Again, give the video a thumbs up if you like this program. We appreciate that. Appreciate Noto joining me every week, and Steve working hard to produce for us behind the scenes as well. And until next week, good luck in all your contests, everybody. I'm Justin, and we'll catch you next Tuesday, everyone. Take care.